Okay, I'm between you and lunch, so that's not good. And I'm also one of the last ones to show things here. But I wanna talk about a few things that I think are very, very important for you as web developers. And it's partly what I felt and what I think is very, very annoying about the whole HTML5 world right now. So the talk is making your HTML5 efforts worthwhile. And if the screen stays with me, that'd be lovely. Of course it doesn't. Good. You know I changed my resolution for you?
That was for them guys.
And yet you didn't do anything. Lovely. Okay. When I was a kid, when I still had my hair and I was much younger, I had this uncle in America, and he kept sending us these comic books from America, and this was one of the ads in there that actually advertised sea monkeys. And these are these really cool things that are really like little pets that you can teach tricks, and they actually live with each other and build houses and all kinds of things. And when you actually then got them finally, when I got my hand on them when I went to America for the first time, they were just brine shrimp. They were like this little ugly, like little crab-like things, and they didn't build any houses or they didn't play any games. And I was just very disappointed because it just looked so cool to have these kind of things. Look at that family. I mean, they're really happy about those things. There was a South Park episode about this as well, which is not as what I wanted to do. And I feel the same with HTML5. When HTML5 got announced, and Apple basically went on stage and said, like, "Oh, the phone is dead, and we have a new phone, and it's much cooler." The main announcement was also, which got very much quickly forgotten, is that no SDK is required. Steve Jobs went on stage and said, "Well, we have Safari, best browser in the world," which is arguable, but he basically said, "This has all the functionality that you need. This gives you the camera, this gives you, you can link to a map, you can link to everything else. It is the only thing you need. No SDK is required." And that got really quickly forgotten. Because we started developing for these things, and we started developing for the iPhone, and then we couldn't access all these things. It wasn't as pretty as they pretended that it would be. And the problem with that was actually that we still wanted to do it. Because everybody said, "Oh, the iPhone is the only new cool thing that we have." The problem was that it held us back. HTML5, all of a sudden everybody said, "This is about mobile. Oh, this is cool. HTML5 is the only thing for mobile that you need, and desktop is dead, and everybody has a mobile phone, and we only build for these environments." Whereas HTML5 is just the evolution of HTML. Yes, it can be on mobile, but it doesn't have to be. The desktop can benefit from a lot of stuff that we do in HTML. The problem was we started doing these things and did them half-hearted. We did the things that only the iPhone 1 gave us, and that's why we have these wonderful websites right now that are completely broken. There's Brad Frost collects them, and this wonderful site, WTFmobileweb.com, that shows all these things that look like iPhone interfaces on your Android or on your tablet. And we basically break that. We didn't manage to bring the web, the desktop web that we loved for years, onto mobile devices because we got this promise that we never got actually supported. So what happened? Why is that still the case? Why are there still broken websites out there? Why does a company like Opera have to actually switch to another browser engine because people did basic things wrong and only supported one browser engine? Like, why was it a good decision for them to business-wise to do that? And what was a bad decision for me to get this projector here? Well, let me just see my slides for that. Okay, so it cannot be the browsers, because we have incredible tooling. Every browser has great developer tools built in. We have minute control over what's happening in the pages. If you look at Google+, those 5 million in the audience that use Google+ as well, the Chrome team releases almost every day a new screencast about what are the cool things in the Chrome developer tools. And they give you like milliseconds and milliseconds of things in there. So you can, for example, see why request animation frame is a good idea instead of set timeout. Because you're actually writing things to the browser engine that cannot display it at that time. Whereas request animation frame only brings things out when they can actually be displayed. So you can have a waterfall diagram, which you would see in this blue screen right now. Well, it's sponsored by IE, so blue screen is a good thing to scroll anyways. That shows you millisecond per millisecond what you're gaining by using this new technology. So now I can't even see that one anymore. Lovely. I'm training people on public speaking right now, and I always tell them your slides will die on you and be prepared for that. It's great. So, browsers are amazing. I mean, you just saw what Opera does on Android. You see what Chrome does on the desktop. You see what Internet Explorer 9, 11, 10, 12 will do. And these are great browsers nowadays. We cannot complain about browsers the way it did anymore. Because at least all of them have the HTML5 parser. They show HTML the same way. And that's a big, big thing, because when I started, that wasn't the case at all. So browsers are great, developer tools are great, we have minute control of what's happening in the browser, and still we create crap on mobile interfaces. And I wonder why that's the case. That was in Barcelona. That was they're logging for free 15 minutes of internet after you give your passport number as well. That is built for an iPhone 1, and on my Android, the newest, coolest Android that I paid like $500 for, this is what I get. This is not right. My favorite is this company, which I will not name here because they actually said yesterday HTML5 was not good enough for them. If I go on my Chrome on Android to this page, this is where I get redirected to. A size thing that would show something on an iPad too. Because on the bottom of that screen, it's like, why don't you download the Android app? But I cannot even reach it because the thing is not scrollable. So why does that happen? Why does HTML fail to do that? I think we've been blinded by products. We get really excited about, oh, the iPhone is the only thing we need to support. Remember when the whole web development community was going crazy about Retina displays? And then everything else is like outdated now. We need everything to be Retina ready, or we won't have any job tomorrow. We're all going to be homeless and have to be goat farmers and things like that. This is how silly that person looks right now. They get very excited about Windows 95. And that happens every half year with a new mobile device or a new tablet. And here we go, basically the whole WebKit, the ghost of WebKit only environments that we have to do is now finally dead. Like with Blink, let me actually sort that out for you. With, okay, oh, there we go. With Blink, we now have a new rendering engine that actually means that WebKit isn't WebKit. And I've been saying it for years that WebKit isn't WebKit, isn't WebKit, because we're hindered by the hardware, we're hindered by the operating system, we're hindered by the version of WebKit that we have there. So there's not only one browser to build them all, you have to support several engines, and this is how standards are made. They're tested across different engines. So what do we do about this? How do we actually go about this at Mozilla? We're a non-for-profit organization to keep the web open and free to everybody. And we thought, okay, we brought Android and FIREFOX for Android out, which gives you HTML5 support with the newest APIs back to Android Froyo. Because what we heard earlier is like the state of the mobile web. To me, and I just tweeted about this, the main reason is actually stock browsers and operating systems. I should not have to buy a new mobile phone to get a better browser. That was the mistake we did with Windows 95. That's why we have IE6. And we have to still support some of them. But we still make the same mistake. It's totally fine if I get an old Android and I don't get HTML5 browser and Chrome, right? No, it isn't. Firefox goes back to old Android, Chrome, Opera goes back to old Android. And what we did with Firefox OS is thinking like, what about people that cannot have Android and cannot have iOS? What about people that are in countries, millions of people in countries that cannot afford these phones or actually don't get them at all? And this is what we're doing with Firefox OS. We're not battling iOS, we're not battling Android. This market can hit its heads against each other, they can do whatever they want. What we want is people online, and we want people online on their mobile devices when that's all they have. So, we're replacing feature phones. We're replacing the old Nokias, the old Samsungs, the old Sonys, the old Motorola's. We target new emerging markets. So the first market where Firefox OS will be out rather soon is Poland. Then we will go into South America for Chile, Venezuela, Brazil, Spain, and a few other countries. So we're targeting these markets where people cannot afford an iOS device and can only afford an Android device that has a really outdated and old stock browser that doesn't help the web at all. We have very affordable hardware, so this will be affordable for people that cannot get an iPhone, cannot get an Android that is useful. We have no credit card need. That was a big thing. Like, yes, you can buy an iPhone in South America, but if you have no credit card, you can't buy anything for it. Even the free apps needed a credit card. That changed lately, but it's still a silly thing to have. Like, if I want to give a phone to my kid, I don't want my credit card details on there. I don't want the kid to be allowed to buy thousands of dollars of in-app purchases. So what we're doing here is client billing, that at the end of the month you see the apps that you bought on your telephone bill, or you can have a €50 or £50 SIM card and only buy apps for that amount. Web technologies through and through, nothing in FIREFOX OS is not HTML5, CSS, or JavaScript. From the interface down to the apps, everything is in web technology, so you don't need to learn something new. 18 mobile partners, 4 hardware partners, 6 different launch countries, and this is happening really, really, really soon. So the main differentiator that I found, though, is like, yes, everybody gets excited about I can build FIREFOX OS on my own devices, I can put it on a Raspberry Pi, but this is the main differentiator I think that we're having, which is search app by content. So I can actually go on the FIREFOX OS device and I can search by entering the name of a band and find music apps according to that. These are not apps that are installed. These are not apps that are only in the market. These are apps that are in the market and on the web. So I can find Groove Shark here, I can start playing the song, I can find Amazon, I can actually get the search that I entered directly into Amazon. So I don't go to the Amazon app, I don't have to install it, I don't have to enter the band name again. I can search for movie titles, I can search for restaurants, I can search for food, and I find accordingly what I'm looking for. So I bring the use case to the app and not the app to the use case. This means that whatever you have right now out there as mobile optimized websites become advertising for your app. So users can try out your mobile version of your website and then actually with a long click on these results could install that app that way. So whatever you put online right now is not rendering badly on iOS, it's actually becoming the gateway for millions of new users into your apps that you want to sell here. You define a manifest file, that's all you do. You give it a name, you give it a description, you say what you want to access on the hardware, you give us the items, and we can actually realize that way that this is an app that should show up in that search. There's 3 levels of access. There's hosted apps. These are the ones that you keep on your own server. These are the HTML5 apps that work across all the platforms. Privileged apps and certified apps. Privileged apps are in the browser, in the market, in the Mozilla marketplace. And certified apps are the ones that we build with partners to actually get full access to everything on the phone, which is available but should be available for every app out there. So hosted apps can do all the things that HTML5 can do: geolocation, local storage, offline storage, but we also have things like a battery status API. We have an alarm API, you can WebFM API, IndexedDB is fully supported, Mouselock for 3D games, all of these things are in there for you. And all of these APIs are dead easy. If you know jQuery, if you know how to use any API or an event callback, this is what you do. This is how you install an app. You either actually send it to the marketplace, end users find your app in the marketplace, or you just put a button in your HTML and you put an event handler like that in there. You say install the app, install, pointing to the manifest URL, and then you get an on success or on error to do that. So any app that is on the page right and site that is on the web right now can get an install button with these 2 lines of code. Battery API, for example, has a few attributes to read out, has event listeners that actually tell you when things change. This is working in FIREFOX Desktop now as well. Other browsers are implementing those because none of these APIs are only for FIREFOX. They're just sent out as proposals for everybody to use. Privileged apps, the ones that are actually in our market and have a security review by us, actually can do more. They can store things on the SD card, they can create browser-like interfaces, they can do TCP sockets or create context or read context. And with System XHR, I've got access to third-party data, so I could read, for example, RSS feeds in case some large corporation kills one of their feed readers. The context API looks like that. I say I want to do Moz contact, I give the name of Christian, and I basically save it. I've got my on success and on error handler, much like any other simple API that you have out there, and that way I could access and create new contexts simply. Certified apps can access everything on the phone, like you can do telephone calls, you can do text messages, Bluetooth status, the permissions API, Everything else is written in JavaScript. You don't need to learn any other language to build anything for Firefox OS. But of course, when I show these things, yeah, when you're doing the same thing that the others do, like I have to package my app up and put it in the market, that's not much better than actually iOS does it or Android does it. Well, the point is I cannot allow any app on the web or on your server to actually make telephone calls on behalf of the user, because I cannot control the security of your server and I cannot trust it. I don't trust any server that I don't have under my control, and it's not a good idea to ever do that. Including any content from a third party without actually verifying it, very, very bad idea. So why don't we make it the other way around and let the user do the work for us? And this is what we call web activities. This is what an interface would look like, for example, to get an image. I want an image from the end user. I don't care where the image comes from. I don't care if it's the gallery, if it's the wallpaper, or if it's from the camera. All I want to have is an image. I don't care what you use. You probably have an app that you love for images, and you can use that. So that interface would call that and say like, okay, pick from one of those and pick the image there. The web activities that we have are much like web intents or intents on Android. So you've got configure, dial, pick, save, bookmark, cost control, and so on and so forth, and share. Getting a number to the phone would be like call, mouse activity, name, dial, and the number that you want to dial. This would switch the phone to the dialer app, and the end user has to press the button to initiate the call. So your app does not make a call on behalf of the user is still in full control. The main difference to iOS, where I would have a tell pseudo URL, is that I can get back from it. Once the call has been hung up, it automatically goes back to your application, and it tells you how long that call has been going on, if it has been successful, or if it has been prematurely hung up, and these kind of things. So you have the whole loop that iOS promised us at the beginning, but with the data coming back. So if I want, for example, have to have an image, and I don't want to go through the input type image, but actually inside a package tab, I want to do something like that. I say mouse activity pick, I give it the MIME types of images, and that would actually give me the apps that store images. If I put a MIME type of sound there, I would get the sound apps, and so on and so forth. All I then get is actually an on-success handler or an on-error handler that gives me the image back as a block URL. So I'm in full control in JavaScript, but the end user is the one that initiates the activity and actually allows me to access it through the app that they have. You could write an app and say like, that's now the #1 app for images. And you can actually activate that with an activity as well. And I think that's a very, very good way of not doing things on behalf of the user, but keeping them in control and letting them choose what they want to have. If I want to store images, why should I authenticate with Flickr on your behalf? That's how security holes happen. That's how tweets end up in your Twitter stream that you don't want to have. You should still be saying, okay, that goes to Twitter, I set it off, it goes back. And the going back is the one we never have in iOS. So the good news as well is that all of these things are available in Android if you've got Firefox installed. So if you've got Firefox installed, you can use on any Android, inside Chrome, or whatever web activities right now as well. They do work, and they actually allow you to access the camera that way. So what if you want to have some of that? Where do you start? What's the easiest way? First of all, we've got devices out here. I've got 3 colleagues from Mozilla with me here that you can actually play with Firefox phones and actually see what they look like and see what the emulator looks like. The developer hub is the first page that we have. It's basically a one-stop shop how to get things into Firefox OS. Like you have design principles there, you have a few demo apps that you can download and take a look at. This is general HTML5 app stuff. So this is not only Firefox specific, but it actually gives you like UX ideas and it gives you like best practices how to write an HTML5 app that people want to use. You can download the demo apps and you can just start messing with them and make your own app out of them. It explains you how to build things for Firefox OS, it explains the manifest file, it explains all the APIs, linking back to the wiki, which you can edit as well in case you find bugs, or you can translate for us if you wanted to, and information how to publish, and how to make money with your app, and how to actually go out and actually build people for what you want to have. So it's a one-stop shop for all of them. To start with Firefox OS, you don't have to have a device, you can actually start a simulator. The simulator is just an add-on for Firefox that you can install on the add-ons page, and then you have a simulated Firefox OS in your browser. The video I showed earlier about the dynamic search was done in that emulator. I didn't do that from the phone, otherwise it would have been very, very bad. You've got a console messaging, you've got your error messaging going on there, you can debug everything that's happening in the Firefox OS directly from your Firefox and from your editor of choice. This is an older screenshot. The newer simulator now has also a button saying send to device. So if you have a Firefox OS device, you just can connect it by USB and send your app over to the device to test it out and get the feedback from the interface that way as well. Because sooner or later, when you're actually building things on phones, you will want to do it on the phone. An emulator only gets you so far. There's a great app by Robert Lyman called FIREFOX OS BOILERPLATE, which is a boilerplate app, you might be surprised, that gives you all the functionality that I talked about as stubs. So basically the code is in there and you just delete the buttons that you don't want to have and the functionality that you don't need, and you put your functionality into the ones that you want to use. So you don't have to read out all the documentation and all these kind of things. You just look at that app, you try it out, you see what's going on there. It's a great thing to play with to try out Firefox OS for the first time. Simple things like vibration API. How do I make this thing vibrate for a second? It must vibrate 1,000 milliseconds. That's how easy these kinds of things are. So if you know your HTML5 and you know your CSS and you know a bit of JavaScript, you now have full access to the hardware. You can build the things that we've been promised 5-6 years ago by corporations that said that Flash is dead and didn't give us the access to the hardware because it's easier to actually for them to build us with native apps and these kinds. What if you want to have a phone? Well, it was a tricky thing, but very, very soon, I'm talking days here, Geeksphone.com, a company in Spain, sells Firefox OS phones. You can order them, they come to your house. Somebody on Facebook, I just tweeted earlier as well, or got this one today, and you can actually start playing with it. You can use it as your phone. We've been dog-fooding that internally in Mozilla now for a few months, and there's quite a few of us that actually use this as their first phone. But remember, this is a very, very affordable, simple phone. It's 1 gigahertz, 256 meg of RAM. This is how far we go, because we want this to be affordable worldwide by people that are allowed to be online, but are right now blocked out because they don't have desktop machines at home, and they only have mobile phones that allow them to play Snake and send text messages, and that's about it. And they actually see the iPhones in the shops and realize that it's 7 months of their wage to actually get one of those, and by the time they have it, it will be outdated. That to us is not fair. The web was built for everybody out there. The web was built for everybody to learn from it, to have a voice on it, to actually use it. And we have millions and millions of people out there that are not on it right now because we got excited about products and we're trying to make money by selling more hardware every few months. So you have a whole new audience for you to play with. These are not the people that are tainted by iOS or tainted by Android and will compare everything you do with the coolest newest phone that they have in their hand. These are people that actually have a normal, they have the first phone in their hand that gets them online. That gets them like, hey, I can use Facebook, not in the internet cafe, not in school, but I can use Facebook on the go on my phone. That's pretty awesome. HTML5 without the lockout. You don't have the problems that you have in others that say like, yeah, you could use HTML, but that only works on a native app. You have to be very, very hacky and very cool to do that. These things run WebGL, these things run IndexedDB. You don't have the problems that you have actually to go across all the other platforms. Your website is your ad, as I showed with that dynamic search. So even if you don't care about Firefox OS, please brush up these interfaces. Fix these mobile interfaces that only work on first-generation iPhones, because that is killing us. That is stopping us from reaching millions and millions of new users. It's minimal extra work, and it works across platforms. So HTML5 technology is never wasted, because you can still use PhoneGap to do native things out of it. Making a native app gives you a native app. You cannot go back to HTML5 from them. And that's all we got time for, so thanks very much, and I see you outside.